Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
It's time to wake up
and shine on. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Bring Me to Life podcast. I am super excited to be here today. I have several amazing guests, including my partner, Selomon.
Hey, everyone.
Helping me hold down the podcast. And then I also have another familiar voice that you may recognize as Breezy is here. Breezy, how you doing?
Doing great. Hey, all you high-vibe humans.
Yay! And then we also have some new voices that I am super excited to introduce to you guys. We have my friend Mecca and my new friend Ashley. How are you ladies doing tonight?
Hey, doing well.
Well, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. I'm super excited to be here. I feel like it is so important for us to be showing up and to be sharing our voices in different ways and to really kind of call for the spiritual leadership out there. We have a lot of chaos into the world, and right now is such a touchy time because there seems to be a lot of opinions being thrown around, and we want to really focus on the empowered leadership. And in some sense, people getting their opinions and their perspectives out there is very, very important. It's important to be standing up for our fellow humans in all walks of life. And in some senses, I see it ripping apart communities, families, and more. So again, I feel like now more than ever, we need spiritual leadership. Before we dive into that, I just wanted to give the audience a taste of what we're going to be talking about this evening. I would love to hear a little bit more about each of you and what makes you you. So I'm going to pick on Breezy and call her first. What makes you you in your spiritual path here?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon, for having me here today. And I guess what makes me on my spiritual path is this idea that I incarnated on this earth with a mission to save the world one person at a time, one adventure at a time, by empowering people to stay healthy and to stay light and to not give up the fight for social justice and equality in their communities. I'm the owner of Golden Guyan Wellness based in Michigan, and I'm a holistic mental wellness practitioner. But my spiritual path is more of that of an angelic starseed. So I really firmly believe that I'm here with a mission on this planet.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Celia, did you want to share what you feel like your mission is here? What makes you you as a spiritual leader?
Well, my mission is to help bring more love, peace, equality, and unity into this world, and actually to the universe in general. And right now I'm doing that through creativity and expression. Just at a program that wrapped up on being able to gain a deeper connection and channel source with music and art and meditation. And that was really beautiful. And I got Selomon.com where people can find my public free meditations. I got quite a lot of them on YouTube and Facebook, and yeah, so that's what I do, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say and learning a lot because, I'm a white dude, and I think a lot of us have a lot to learn. So
yeah, Sila's here to show up and listen, and I love that about him. He's a good learner. I know my mission is mainly to help inspire others to be the best version of them that they can be, and I know the listeners hear me talk about that all the time. So I'm gonna hop on over and I'm gonna say, how about Mecca? Can I ask you, Mecca, what do you feel like makes you you, and what do you inspire to see happen as a leader in the world?
Thank you, Shannon, first of all, for having us here. And Breezy's intro was amazing, so I don't know how I can go after that. I would say my mission is to assist citizens of this universe, just kind of giving them tools to navigate through the journey of life, and helping them vibrate higher every day. Those are the things that I work on every day for myself, and I feel like if I could spill that over to others, then we could be living in a totally different world than we're living in now. So that's where I am.
I love that. How about you, Ashley? What makes you you? How do you feel like you show up as a leader? What do you want to see happen?
I think that for me, what makes me me is ever evolving, and I celebrate that. I would also say my spiritual practice is ever evolving, and my mission here is really to continue to maintain connection with myself and with others, and really try to achieve that through humor and expressions of joy. That's what I'm here for.
I think that's beautiful. And I love how each of us are so different, but we all have a very similar path of just wanting to evolve and to change and to see the world change into this beautiful co-creation that I think it can really be between all of us. So, again, right now, more than ever, we need spiritual leadership. And I know that one of the current hot topics of discussion around the globe is the deprogramming of racism in society, and also connecting with ourselves in a much deeper way as we shift through the chaos that is 2020 as a whole. So it ended up being that I have 3 beautiful, empowered Black women here with me tonight. So I'm excited to hear kind of your perspective on what it's been like for you all shifting through the chaos. And I know, Ashley, you said that you're coming from an area where you're kind of right in the chaos. Do you care sharing what that experience has been?
Yeah, I think being in the South Loop of Chicago, you're really geographically close in proximity to the various groups that have gathered in protest or in community to really voice their emotional response to the events of the day. And Chicago is a place that we've seen all manner of corruption and great, beautiful things happening across the spectrum. And so what I want to say is, in the midst of movement of people from one side of the city to the other in steps of frustration or anger and despair, we also see things like people playing house music and being able to reconnect with a sense of hope and joy in the midst of experiencing just great emotional turmoil. So that's what it's been like to be able to see the spectrum of that, to see us go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs and back again, really speaks to I think our humanity and just the emotional response to what's happening right now. So it's been amazing to see.
That's good. That's good. Mecca, you're also kind of in the heart of a lot of the chaos, or you were. What was it like kind of traveling back and forth as you visited DC?
Well, can't talk. So where I live in DC is considered DuPont Circle, which is like on 16th Street. So where the block leads up to the White House. So I feel like similar to what Ashley is saying, is being in it's either one of those things that's amazingly great or amazingly upsetting, right? Great because you get to see the energy of individuals that are out there that don't necessarily look like you, that are protesting for rights or protesting for a justice that would directly affect you. So that part has been absolutely great. It's kind of like you get to see everyone's coming together. They're peaceful. You get to see all the artwork. You get to see the camaraderie amongst everyone. But then you can also see all the pain as well, daily, during those pieces. And I would say the difference between, so that's in DC, but then when you get to Arkansas, which is, night and day of DC, you see more of a different spectrum that you don't know what year you're in. You don't know what year you're actually in, because you still feel like, how do I say? You feel like there's still a lot that needs to be done in this particular region. Just vibrating of a higher level with the people that are here, with the leadership that is here, and just the thought process is completely different. It's less progressive, but I mean, everyone has their pockets. I would say everyone has their pockets, and they just try to do the best they absolutely can in both arenas, I would assume.
I think that it's good to recognize how different it is in different spaces all over, because there's many people who haven't gotten out of their small hometowns and they don't realize how night and day those different dynamics can really be.
Right. Exactly. It's very scary to see what happens from in its same time period, 2020, what can happen on the East Coast and what can happen in the South. So
I think that's where a lot of the disconnect is coming from online too, is there's all these different people with opposing opinions and they don't really see it from other people's perspective. So there's been a lot of just division there. Breezy, I know you've taken a little bit of action up in Michigan as well. You spoke at a demonstration and have been pretty active part in a voice. What's it been like for you?
You know, Livonia has a history, okay? And that's a simple way of putting it. And it was really beautiful to see over 2,000 people show up to this rally in support of Black Lives Matter. And what I spoke about was my experience as a child of a Black man and an Irish woman. And, you know, how even at their wedding, they were receiving certain comments. And then when I entered school, I received certain comments. And it wasn't until we had a conversation with the parents that things got better. And so it reminded me of how it's important to have those uncomfortable conversations in order to have success and in order to reach the stream of equality that we all really want to see. And it was beautiful to see so many people willing to have those uncomfortable conversations for the very first time. In fact, I had people come up to me who knew me from when I was a child, completely devastated, frankly, that certain things happened to me and to my family. And so it was beautiful to see their hearts open and their minds open to hearing more and to learning more about systemic racism.
I've seen it even in my own family, like some family members step out and share their voice and support. And it's really surprising, but also like, I'm just so proud of some of my family.
Yeah. Some of the members of your family I wouldn't have necessarily expected to use their voice are, and that's a beautiful thing. Now, Silo, I want to talk with you for a second too. So in my small town, we had a demonstration happen. It was a small parade, and it was actually hosted by the Pride community for the in honor of the Black Lives Matter, standing with that movement. And what surprised me the most was in our community, there were actually only 5 Black people there, but over 100 white allies that showed up. So it was mainly a white parade, chanting for the rights of others. And I thought that was pretty powerful. And so what was your experience being there and holding a sign and showing up for what you believe in?
Well, it was honestly one of the first kind of marches where I've held a sign like that since I did stuff in Detroit, like 2013, 2012, stuff like that. So it was really cool to see. To be honest, if it wasn't such a big movement like this, I would have been like, I wish Cumberland was, cool enough to do something for this. And it's really just, surprising to see it happen. And even though it was raining, there was still a good crowd, and people were honking their horns and cheering us on and supporting everything. And our friend Ian, who's a Black man, and he's a great musician and one of our good friends. And it was really cool to be there to support him. And he was cheering, no peace, no justice, no peace. And it was just so powerful. And I was just like, I'm on the right side of history right now.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience to see the people actually show up, because kind of like you said, I wasn't sure that Cumberland was powerful enough to actually stand up for what they believe in, because it's a very conservative space in my life, because let's just say there's a lot more Trump signs than I wish to see. I try not to get too political, but it's a very interesting dynamic here. So I was proud to see them make something happen, show up, and it was peaceful. There were a couple of people that at the beginning I was questioning, because they were older white males, and the way they were chanting was a little bit disturbing. But then by the end of it, they were saying, thank you for showing up. So I think that there's even people that are there for the movement that are sometimes misunderstood. So that was even nice to see. So I'm really grateful for all of you sharing your experience and stuff on that topic with us as well, because I'm sure it's exhausting, and I know that it's something that's very important to discuss, but it's also very energy draining. And some people I've noticed are kind of starting to take a step back from the discussion. And I know it's because of all the opinions being thrown around, but it seems like it's more important now than ever to keep the discussion going. So thank you again for kind of talking about that. Now, another discussion I want to kind of tie in with that is being educated and being a spiritual leader that is educated rather than just opinionated. So whether it is on the current movement at large or any spiritual topic that is speaking from your heart right now, what are some ways that you ladies like to get your education out in the world? Are you researchers? Do you like to dive in? Do you have any platforms you like to get your news from? Or maybe even a book that you feel channeled to share right now? And if any of you want to go first, feel free to hop in.
Well, I think that in terms of education for me, I'm sort of thinking about different responses to the movement and just the environment right now. And I think for some, they have more of an emotional response to it. For others, they have more of an intellectual response, and they want to read and understand. And others have more of an action-oriented orientation. They want to know, what are we going to do? You know, what action are they already taking actions? And so I think in terms of something for me, it's a combination of all of those, and making sure I'm periodically taking breaks and, again, connecting with myself, because I think it's one thing to connect with the conversation and with your peers and your friends and your colleagues and your family members. And that can be exhausting and draining, particularly if you're taking on the role of educator in that situation, right? But I am doing things like thinking about, what can I do in response to communicating with leaders in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, about the case of Breonna Taylor, and speaking out and contacting leadership in the Louisville, Kentucky area about that. And I'm reading up on where has corporate America maybe fallen short in terms of really keeping pace with consistently having a pipeline of Black leaders, because that's important for someone that's been in the corporate world and working in the for-profit sector, and reading about how do we get from just unconscious bias training to full-blown anti-racism training, and how do we advocate for that as the next level here. And something that I'm reading and that I find really fulfilling for me is just reimagining what the future could be like, and just going into those like futuristic Octavia Butler parable of the sower, parable of the talents, and really thinking about, in this future world that we're painfully marching toward, right? What could that look like? How could we reimagine that and have it be completely different from our current experience? And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about and looking to in terms of education, is just the reimagining of the future, and what kind of tools and language should I be using in trying to describe that to others?
I love that so much. I love it so much. It's what I've been telling so many people is, if they don't know where to begin, to focus on what they wish to see.
Yeah, that's great advice.
It's what's helped me, because I do start trying to educate myself and dive deeper into all the different resources that I've gathered, that people have tagged me in, or that has been shared through the different discussions I've tapped into. And there is just so much out there that some of it's contradictory, some of it's just overwhelming, some of it you have to find the deeper truth behind, because there's multiple resources and different people's sides of the story, and it can be very overwhelming. So for me, what has helped is just, again, like you said, taking that step back and being like, okay, this is the world I wish to see. I want to see all of the humans be free. I want to see everyone have health care. I want to see us be able to like come together as a community. And and it's also been important too to kind of like navigate my vocabulary and how I word things, because though it comes from my heart and I mean it one way, it's very easily taken another way sometimes. That's what I meant earlier, when there's a lot of touchiness in communication right now, and we're going into Mercury retrograde. I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but I find chaos happening with communication in the middle of like eclipse season and all the other crazy spacey spiritual things that are happening. So I know that communication is also key in trying to keep that open line of communication. How about...
I wanted to ask Ashley real quick. You're talking about like the future. Have you ever heard of the Venus Project?
I have heard of the Venus Project, but remind me the details of it.
It's run by, well, it was created by Jack Fresco, who was a philosopher, and he created this technology for housing and building and just basically an infrastructure. And he called it a resource-based economy, where the economy was run based off resources rather than money. And so that was like his main thing. And I was curious what you thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I definitely want to spend some more time. I love to talk about things once I know about them. So I want to spend some time making sure I revisit and understand the details of the project. But I think zero summing the way that we do things now, right? Or what it means to exist in a capitalist society, and to reimagine the way we go about the allocation or sharing of resources is something that I think maybe even a week ago, like we couldn't think about culturally making that kind of transition. But at this point, you know, let's remake the entire system, the entire way that we interact with each other, or the language that we use with each other, however. So I'm all for it. And it's definitely something I'd love to continue a conversation around.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you hop back on, and maybe we can
convene on that one.
have a whole discussion on the Venus Project and how we can rebirth the new world in a beautiful way. Because that's kind of a topic of discussion for June and July through the podcast network, is kind of the rebirth and how we can kind of create that community we wish to see. So how about you, Mecca or Breezy? How are either of you kind of getting either educated, or how do you visualize the new world coming in? What are you feeling called to talk about? I'm going to put one of you on the spot.
I'll go. I think that prior to everything that's going on with our current state of, prior to what's been going on, so when we first started COVID-19, I think I was more focused on, at that point, what I wanted my world to look like, not even as a whole, but what I wanted to experience afterwards. But then, you know, kind of like what Ashley's point was just great. For me, I was only focused on like, hey, what do I want this to look like? But then as the months have progressed and we've traveled into racism and classism and just all these other isms, it's almost like, yes, you want to know what the world is going to be looking like, and who can you go to for those tools to help you navigate that and kind of get out of your own, for me, get out of my own head. And just kind of also just remembering books that once helped you along earlier on in life.
Yes.
And then, so some things that, some resources like individual spiritual leaders that I've kind of been drawn to is this one, her name is Jaguar. She's a medicine woman, a spiritual medium, but she's also someone that kind of, she's in this whole mode of women are here to do the work to bring us to a higher level, to ascend the world. So she is, she has these like these classes and these womb steamings, and it's all about bringing the world to a higher level, and it's the women's work that has to be done. We all know that.
Yeah.
It can be done by all of us, but she concentrates on the women. Someone else that I've been following for a little while now is Shaman Durek. That's his name. He's been given some really good tools on how to kind of navigate navigate yourself. And I feel like there's so many new terms that are coming around. I mean, I guess I never thought that I would need to learn anything about racism at all, honestly. But I think what I'm learning now is like, okay, how do you, these are the new terms. Here's, these terms should be used when you're talking to a certain group of people or just in general, not to offend anyone. What's an ally? I feel like that word has become like this, it's become a new word, and it wasn't used in regards to racism or I'm your friend, I'm on your side. It wasn't used in those terms in regards to racism. So now just learning new words, you're finding out about all these new anti-racism, finding out about anti-racism educators. They're not new. They've been working on these things for a while, like a Chrissy King, Monique Melton. These people have been in it for years, and now their work is really like justified. And people are like clamoring at them to teach them, hey, how should we be conducting ourselves in the wellness industry? How should we be conducting ourselves in corporate America? What do we need to do to let everyone know we're on your side? So just, kind of just being versed on what others and what I should be thinking about in regards to anti-racism. Some books that I've been kind of falling back to, James Baldwin. I love him. One book is The Fire Next Time, and then Toni Morrison, Playing in the Dark.
Yes. Mecca coming in with the book references. I love
some great
books.
Selections. Some great selections.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. I always love getting books and other materials out there to the community so that they can keep the education or just like the movement of their evolution and growth going beyond just the podcast. And you mentioned terms being thrown around right now that are just getting all these different kind of meanings. And one that's been really thrown recently is the spiritual bypassing and the tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to kind of sidestep or avoid facing the real issues at large here. And it kind of started back, it started exploding. It's been a term that's been growing in the spiritual community, but I feel like it really exploded when COVID happened too, because people are like, oh, my aura is so bright, I'm not going to get sick, or I don't need to wear a mask. And there was like all these like things. And now we're diving into the racism discussion, and they're trying to be like, oh, I know that a lot of people were trying to say that like all lives matter. And then they got thrown in with kind of the conservative sector of the all lives matter. But really they were trying to say like, we're all humans, and there's just so many different terms and spiritual bypassing and opinions being thrown around. It really is hard sometimes to navigate. And it goes back to, again, seeing the world we wish to see and trying to speak from the heart and clearly, and hold space for the discussion, which I think is important. And I know Breezy has really been helpful for holding space in that discussion with me. So I would love to hear kind of your perspective too. How have you been navigating? What have you been educating yourself with? And what do you feel guided to share right now?
Yes, holding space is what I've decided to do at this time. And I've always been kind of an educator. And I have a master's in counseling psychology that I got from Western Michigan. During my time at Western Michigan, I taught a class of 800. I was an assistant teacher. And so it was really interesting to see 800 different faces and their reaction to when we would talk about racism in the classroom. And I was also on a panel called Race Talks. And so that kind of prepared me for this moment. Like you said, Mecca, there have been people out there talking about this for a long time. And then it's finally exploded onto the scene. And you have people kind of looking for a life raft almost of like, how do I find the words to describe that I want to help people out? How do I find these words to describe what's going on? And I want to be that bridge for people to have those uncomfortable conversations. But I do believe that social justice is like a chorus. So in the sense that when we do feel tired, when we do feel drained, it's important to take that time to go back inside of ourselves and to reconnect with who we are. Like Ashley said earlier, to reconnect with what really makes us passionate and what really is our mission on this earth. And so educating and kind of helping other people see how they've been programmed. And I do want to touch on that spiritual bypassing thing, because I experienced it when people would say that they didn't see color. And so then I had the terms to explain to them that it kind of pushes past my history and it doesn't validate the experiences that I've had. And if you want to get spiritual about it, I chose this physical form for a reason, to help teach others lessons about racial bias and about the programming that they've received when they were younger, and to help root that out, because there are certain people in academia that want to classify racism as a mental health disorder and put it in the DSM. So, there is an idea that it is a sickness that needs to be healed. And with that said, it's finding that deeper understanding that helps give us the confidence to heal that within us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing up the statement of not seeing color too, because that was something that I had to learn, because I was raised in a way that in some senses, part of my family definitely saw color. Part of my family said that we don't see color. And it was important for me to kind of reprogram and notice that it's not that I don't see color, it's that I see the color and I honor it, and that I know that I have a different experience. So that was powerful realization and reprogramming for me as a white female. So I think that was really important and powerful for you to bring up, for people to realize that we need to see each other for the individuals we are, the experience that we channeled in to be, and to honor each other for that. And each person's walk of life is so different and so unique.
Yeah, I think America is not really supposed to be a melting pot. I think it's supposed to be a salad. And in a salad, each ingredient brings their own flavor to it. This is not my quote. This is somebody else's quote. But it's this idea.
Well, you rocked it.
We want every single culture to add their own flavor, to add their intellect, to add their creativity, to add their artistic vision to this new world that we want to see. And that's truthfully how we're going to create this new crazy world, is by pulling from different cultures.
I love that. How about you, Celia? Do you feel like hopping in? What's made you or helped you be the best human you can be? Anything specific through the chaos of 2020?
2020, I seriously I thought this was what 2012 was going to be. And, but I guess I should have, thought about it, because there's a big delay living in the physical world. So, yeah, we are ushering in a new world, and I am grateful to be a part of it. And I have a vision for it's a crazy vision for Earth, which I would love to see. Just, I don't think we need borders. I think we could share the Earth and respect it properly without needing to have this division between all of us. And I think we could definitely respect everyone's culture, and I wouldn't consider myself that racist before all of this, but thinking about it, there are times when I'm starting to realize, I do have a whole different aspect that I think of. If a cop pulls me over, I don't have to worry that I'm going to get, shot in the chest, or anything like that. And that's a huge thing that we're all realizing and we're all seeing. And, I'm just really hopeful that all of this will be acknowledged and healed and, respected. And so we can move forward as a planet of individuals and unique different cultures, but also as Earth as one planet, because a lot of energy is being focused in divisiveness right now, and it's halting a lot of our progress as humans. We're not able to explore space right now because Kennedy was exploring space when everything was happening, and Martin Luther King was doing his thing and everything was going great, and then shit went down, and all of a sudden we were not exploring space. All of a sudden we're all broken into fragmented groups, and I'm just, it really makes me sick to see how hateful some people are right now and how much hate they hold in their heart. And it really makes me sad for them because that's a terrible way to live.
Yeah, we could be coming together with a beautiful community and unity. One of the things that I've been kind of touching on the whole space thing, one of the things I've been thinking is if we can't get along as humans, how are we supposed to reach out into the galaxy? I'm a personal believer that there's got to be something else somewhere out there, but it doesn't want to communicate with us because we can't even get along with each other. So why would anything want to come and join us here in this experience? It's chaos. So hopefully we'll all come together as one so we can evolve in that sense. I think also it's just been important to find our voice. As somebody who likes to use my voice as a weapon, it was important for me to find where my voice fit in, not necessarily to weaponize against each other, but to hold space and to hold community through the battle that is happening spiritually too. Some people sit back and they read. Some people will go and be on the front lines in the protests or whatever, and they're calling people. And then some of us are having conversations that are uncomfortable, and that was kind of my place in it. But I'm curious also how others are finding their voice. So even before kind of this chaos hit, I co-created a podcast with Breezy. Breezy's got her own podcast, and we've been empowering our voices that way. And I know that you ladies, Mecca and Ashley, you guys are working on some different projects too. So how have you been finding your voice through kind of the 2020 shift?
Wow. That's a heavy question. Feel free to jump in here, Mecca. I think the way that we have continued to find our voices and articulate our thoughts has been through engaging in the things that we love and thinking about what we want to see, right? But then also just trying to find those moments. Mecca and I like to talk about, we like to discuss everything from memes to mindfulness. So I think the way that we find our voices, being connected to the here and now and keeping pulse on the culture and how it's evolving and how we're interacting with the culture. What do you say to that, Mecca?
No, I agree. I feel like we find our voice. I mean, in a sense of, we can talk about a heavy topic, but definitely making it light and digestible to still relate to it has been our sweet spot, I think. Also bringing humor with the various segments,
It's important.
Fire and Ice. There's, contrasting kind of questions and quick-witted expert. These are like little segments of the podcast that allow us to kind of still be light but very informative and very precise, but then also bring some humor to it with Fire and Ice. So I feel like we have our typical regular conversations, but make sure that we're still hitting points that we want to hit and still be very relevant to what's going on right now currently. But not just diving in so deep to where you feel like you're listening to a news segment.
Yeah, I think that helps to maintain the authenticity of what we're talking about and how we're discussing it, for sure. So for anyone that's interested, check us out on Incense and Whiskey.
Yay! So in case you guys listening missed that, we got a new project in the works. We're hopefully working on bringing that around July time. And I am so excited for the audience to connect more and dive into you guys' story, your experience, and I'm just excited to have new high vibe content to listen to. And Incense and Whiskey sounds like my vibe.
It's a great name.
We're excited.
Oh my goodness.
We're excited to share it with you all.
Yay. Thank you so much for sharing that and putting it together. And we'll be releasing more information on that very soon. So we'll hop over to a second for Breezy. Breezy, what has been important for you finding your voice? I know we've taken a little bit of a break with Golden Guyan Adventure, but you've hopped on several episodes of Awakening with the Girls with me. So listeners, if you want to check out some more of that, I highly suggest checking out Awakening with the Girls. We got lots of good content there. But you've been using your voice many other ways, and maybe you have some advice for other people that are looking to find their voice.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, I want to touch on something about the flow of time right now. the sense that we were in this COVID-19 lockdown, and it seemed like a lot of people were taking that opportunity to go inside themselves, to improve their health in some way, to read a book, to explore an aspect of art that they hadn't before, whether it be movement or creative craft projects. People really took that time, and I did too. I took that time to go inside myself, to meditate, to push myself, to learn a new morning routine, to create new habits. And that allowed me to find a stronger voice inside of me, to shed some shame and doubt in myself. So I'm really grateful to that, for that time, that lockdown time that we had, because it did allow me to create a foundation that I now use to do my live streams every morning, to get on and do a podcast such as this one, and to educate other people. I want to touch on what CeeLo said earlier about how everything is kind of being revealed, and that people who didn't think they held any racial bias before are slowly realizing that there were things they never thought about before. And if there are people out there that kind of want to learn more about that, to kind of uncover their own racial bias, because I have it too, being half white and half Black. Have some white privilege because I pass for white because of my lighter skin tone. And so just me understanding that has helped bring more confidence and power to my voice as well. So if you'd like to learn more about yourself and your role in this world, you can read books like Overcoming Our Racism by Daryl Wing Stew, Whistling Vivaldi, Unpacking the Racial Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh. That one's important because it was written by a white feminist. So she writes from that perspective. And then there are kids' books as well, like The Day the Crayons Quit by Drew DeWalt. A is for Activist by Insanto Nagra, I think. I'm mispronouncing that name, but
you're doing your best.
Really great books to start kids off. Thank you. And that's the whole point, is that we're all learning. We're going to be educating ourselves. We're going to make mistakes, and it's important to stay compassionate. And to bring it back to a spiritual note, how can we shift consciousness if there are things left in the dark? So it's important to shine light on those things in order for it to be revealed. It needs it to be healed. So once it's revealed, it can be healed. And that's what's happening right now. So don't be afraid, or at least acknowledge that fear and continue forward on your learning journey.
Yeah.
I like that phrase you said. I'm going to use that.
Okay.
Did you come up with that one yourself?
I just channeled that.
Yes.
Revealed to be healed. I love it.
You heard it here first.
So you mentioned your morning routine, and I also want to bring up that I keep talking about finding your voice, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean like using your words. It can be just showing up with your energy and with other kind of respect, and just being there and holding space for people. So one of the things I know you've been doing, Breezy, is you've been doing morning dance parties, and they get me hype. Even if I don't catch them live, like you hop on Facebook and you just start dancing. You find music that inspires you, and it like changes my whole day if I catch a minute of it. So I think that that's a really empowering morning routine. And it's kind of a spiritual practice for you. So I wanted to say thank you for doing that. Now I want to kind of hop over to the other ladies. What are some of your kind of spiritual routines, or something that helps you get grounded? Maybe it's meditation, or maybe you journal. Maybe what is your vibe? I'm gonna pick on Mecca for a second. Mecca, what's your vibe?
Ooh, okay. Well, it was funny, Breezy, that she said that, since we've been in COVID, finding our new routines. And so for me, finding a new morning and evening routine was very important. And so one of the morning routines that I've created that also helps ground me is I start off with my gratitude. It was one of those things that would be just kind of like, oh, I'm happy today, so this is what I'm going to write. Now it's just the mini, micro, and macro gratification. So I writing that daily makes such a huge difference for me. And that's not something I practiced on a regular basis before. So writing out my gratitude, actually just sitting there having I haven't got French press coffee, only because there's a ritual that goes with it. There's steps. It's not just automatic. So for me, mentally, having grinding my coffee, boiling my water, all those things are like rituals for me, and it's taking me to a slower morning. and it's allowing me to be more mindful. So I would say slowly preparing my coffee, gratitude, definitely meditation that happens now twice a day for 20 minutes.
Yay!
Those are some of the things that ground me. And I mean, of course, because I love incense, I always have a good incense and candle going. It always brings in the elements.
Do you have a favorite incense?
I do. Well, two. Anything lemongrass is my favorite. Lemongrass, I guess it's 3. Lemongrass, frankincense, pure frankincense, and non-champa are my favorite. Non-champa, I've been rocking that since junior high school. Like, people come to my house and be like, "This smells like high school." I was like, "I know, I love it." Those are my 3 favorites. I have those on rotation all the time.
Frankincense is one of my faves too. It's like my heal all, and it grounds me, and I have it in a diffuser more than an incense usually, but I love it. Thank you for sharing. Ashley, how about you? What helps keep you grounded or connected spiritually, or anything else you feel kind of guided to share in the moment?
Yeah, I think it's probably in all of the above for me. I have more of a practice of checking in with myself, and a variety of things could be a focus for me in the morning, especially. But something that I've been really doing is really focusing on how I'm nourishing myself, and starting my day with a good homemade bowl of oatmeal. And I've really been focusing on breath work, and really just making sure that I am starting my day before I get into email, before I get into communication with others, just having that moment to really nourish myself both physically and spiritually. And it's all about that connection and connecting with myself before the day gets away from me and other people get involved.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's so important to get that grounding in, and to just kind of feel the gratitude and focus into that morning. I've been trying to make my cacao, and that's kind of my thing in the morning, is make my cacao, and I'll check my emails, but I'll do it slowly, and then I'll kind of like meditate for even just a minute before I like dive into whatever recording or organizing or creating I got to do that day. And it's been very helpful. So do you have anything you want to mention while we're talking about getting grounded or anything?
Yeah, I feel like doing what we do, a lot of editing and networking and all kinds of stuff. I spend so much time sitting down and just kind of like staring at that screen. And so I'm a physical person, and I need that physical activity. So I really love stretching and going for walks outside in the woods. I honestly do feel like nature is my real church. I feel more connected to God and to the universe in nature than I do anywhere else. And I love to just go out there, and sometimes I don't need to have any intention, just go out and be. Other times I'll go out and I have a workout rock that I'll do some workouts with, and I love working out with the rock. It's so natural, and I'm very into Celtic spirituality, and they're all about nature and hill walking, and the Celts back in the day used to throw rocks and stuff as games. Yeah,
they did a lot of hill walking. Yeah, I'm glad you have plenty of rocks to do your routine with, because dumbbells and weights have been kind of a scarce commodity since the COVID hit. You can't even find them online or anything anymore. So
everybody's working out at home, or what's going on here?
Who knows? But I know another thing that people have been working through during the Great Pause and the Great Rebirth, of as been calling it, is not only getting grounded, but calling in the abundance that they deserve. And I want to give you a shameless plug real quick, CeeLo. I know you're working on, you've been doing meditations live this week in your meditation guild towards abundance. And you're also getting ready to do, it's a series with another friend that we've made recently, Rebecca. She is co-creating with you a abundance series where you're going to be doing affirmations and meditations to get grounded. And it's so key right now to be focusing on where we're also investing our money and putting our abundance other ways. So I wanted to shout that out. And where can people find information on that real quick?
Well, you can look for it in the Meditation Guild on Facebook, or you can go to bringmetolife.com/true abundance. And it's a 20-day program that we're sharing with everyone. Included is 4 or 5 in-depth meditations. There's some journal topics and mantras that everyone gets. And like you said, it's really important that we're really living our best life, because if we're all living our best life, everybody listening right now who is on the side of progress and making this a better world, if we're all able to draw on that abundance together and we combine it and we can invest it into, better projects, into more sustainable corporations, into more local businesses.
Mm-hmm. And not keep feeding that 1% that is dividing us.
Then everyone wins. So let's all fucking bring in our abundance and make this a great world.
Beautiful. So I want to give everybody another chance to kind of to show up and close up anything you feel guided to share. And if you aren't sure what to share, maybe share a message of inspiration for your younger self or someone else out there listening. If any of you feel guided to go first, a message for your younger self, or just anything coming through.
So I would like to say, message to my younger self, don't give up the fight, which is a part of my motto. But literally, I mean that because looking at my father, he lived through the 1960s. He lived in Detroit during the 1968 Detroit riot. And he saw it all. And you know what he said? He was having deja vu the other day when he was looking at the news, because like you said, we're going to space. We're shooting rockets into space, just like back then. And there are riots and protests in the street, just like back then. But the one difference, he said, is that there are more white people and just different people of different colors in this fight. And he was so surprised. And I think that he was, emotional about it. And just saying that, like, even though it still feels like it's the same, don't give up hope. Don't give up the fight, because it is slowly changing into that world that we want to see. So don't give up the fight.
I think it's a beautiful message.
I honestly agree with him, where I think the whole world, you kind of see it, the whole world's coming together over this more than any other time in history, I think.
Yeah, and they say that people will keep going through the same cycles until they're willing to make a change. Our spirit guides keep putting the same kind of challenges in front of us, maybe slightly different, until we learn how to overcome it, or to be our best selves through it and kind of learn from it. So I think that's kind of showing your dad too, that he's able to evolve, and he's evolving through you, if nothing else. So thank you for not giving up the fight. That's beautiful. How about anybody else? Anyone else have a message for their younger self, or a message to close them out here?
I do. After you said about this, it's something that I wrote on my my other Instagram, Mecca Elevated. It was something I had been thinking about, and I think I heard it. I can't even remember where I heard it, but it's basically like, because we speak life into ourselves, we speak, like, our words can be spells over ourselves, right? So everything that you say after I am comes looking for you. So just be mindful how you speak to yourself. So just think, I am whatever that is. So just be mindful of how you're talking to yourself, how you treat yourself, and what words you're speaking over your life. That's definitely what I would tell my younger self. And I mean, I would tell myself that now, that just remembering everything that I say, everything that comes after I am eventually starts looking for you, and it wants to be attached. It doesn't know if it's a good or bad, a negative or a positive. So just be mindful of how you speak to yourself.
I love that. Thank you. It's so true. I think it's been powerful to see that kind of in my own progression. And I must have changed something in my little brother's perspective, because he started like a little gaming thing. He's kind of like a game kid, and he started his own game stream. His own game stream, and it's called I Am NB Gaming, and he's like trying to like make the I am part of his mentality now too. So that was like my big sister proud moment, that he's like learning something in there. So that's kind of a cute thing. How about you, Ashley? What's your message for your younger self, or the collective as a whole right now?
Yeah, well, something that came to mind is, in speaking to our younger selves, in speaking in the present tense, I am, we've covered the past and the present, right? And so I like to I like to have conversations with my older self, actually.
That's cool too.
And imagine a 90-year-old Ashley and what would she be telling 32-year-old Ashley now? So let's get all our bases covered and really think about the past, present, and future in the conversations that we're having with ourselves. I think an older Ashley would be saying, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for continuing to, keep up the fight. And that's encouraging for me.
Wow. I think that's so powerful. We always talk about giving messages to our younger self, but I do need to stop and talk to my older self and just reflect on that for a minute. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
To come on the heels of that, I learned a phrase in college that was, what would my future self thank me for? And that kind of helped me get through my classwork, oh, thank God I wrote that outline last week, type of situation. But that idea that each day is a step towards that future. So what would our future self thank us for doing today?
So powerful. Wow. Thank you for sharing that too. How about you, CeeLo? Do you have a message for your younger self? Making you go after all those powerful messages.
Yeah, well, I really like what Ashley, I like what everybody said. And I think both past and my future would just be, don't lose faith. And sometimes progress comes one step at a time. But little by little, we travel far.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's one step at a time is what we got to do here.
What about you?
I think that I would just tell my younger self to keep going forward and to not let my family or my friend group or anybody hold me back, because there were definitely times in my younger self where I may have kept my voice closed. And kind of thinking back, I'm like, man, I was pretty loudmouth most of the time. But there's definitely still times with my family specifically, because they've been the hardest for me to navigate, because I come from a family that has a very specific view or opinion of how, I guess, they expect me to show up, or they expect people and humans to show up. And my view is very much different than that. I think we should have our own choice and, at the same sense, respect others' boundaries. And I just would tell my younger self to just hold strong and to, as Breezy likes to say, just don't give up the fight and to keep moving forward. And I'll stick with my own slogan too, is to just keep staying awake and keep shining on and doing what we can do to be here and to be the lights that people really need in that darkness. So I've just been really grateful to hold space, and I think that my older self will be proud of the platform that we're all creating here together. So I thank you, ladies and CeeLo, for all being a part of this, and I'm so excited to dive deeper into incense and whiskey. So we're gonna have to get some more details out to the public for that soon. But where else can people find you? I'll start with you, Mecca. Where can people find you on the internets?
The people can find me on the internet. Instagram, Mecca_elevated is where you can find me.
Yay. And you and I have been working on getting that kind of flowing too. I'm so proud of you and how far you've come in that movement. So I hope people check that one out. How about you, Ashley? How can people find you if you wish for them to find you?
People can just find me on Incense and Whiskey right now, but
Beautiful.
We will be following up on other ways to connect.
Yay, we'll make that happen. How about you, Breezy? Where can people find you on the internet?
Well, I'm known as Breezy Spread Love on the internet, so you can find me on YouTube at Breezy Spread Love, or Instagram Breezy Golden G, or Golden Gaian Wellness. That's my new product page. And then you can also just visit my website, goldengaian.com, to find out all the cool, fun things that I have available on my shop.
Yay. And you've been just trying to get your candles and stuff rolling too. I've been super proud of all the things you're rolling out with.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. Thank you for all your help.
Yay. Well, I'm excited to learn even more about you, Ashley, in the future. So I'm just so excited to get more information about incense and whiskey. We'll get that out to the public as soon as we get that rolling. And CeeLo, do you have any final things you want to say before we head out for the evening?
I'm just really grateful for all of you listening and for all the beautiful ladies here talking today and sharing all your wisdom.
Yay. Well, I hope you all have a beautiful night. Anyone listening, if you need more high vibe content, you can find more at bringmetolife.com with the number 2. I'm Shannon Shine. I've been co-creating a variety of podcasts, and we've also put up several different playlists and are working on a couple more playlists of high vibe music to help you through the evolution of the current times. And we got all the different genres. So if you need some good content, go check it out at bringmetolife.com. And until next time, I hope you all stay awake, shine on always. Bye. For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of it, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Thanks for shining on with us.